Okay, here is the structure. Because I planned this out, everything went together really well. I knew what I was going to do when I built this, and I knew how I wanted to build the foundation. I knew how I wanted to reinforce everything, and how I wanted to lay out the beams for the ceiling. So, obviously the walls came first. We have the inner wall and the outer for durability here. You can see it's not going anywhere. And then you can see how I built in the side panels, the corrugated panels. I used this little bits of strip styrene that I measured out, glued to the pieces of styrene, and then they're just glued up on top of the styrene base there, which represents the concrete base of the structure. So it's very sturdy, very solid construction. And I just went all the way down and cut out the material exactly how I needed. It took about an hour, but really I was having fun. I was not complaining about the time it took. That's not a problem. So here I am just busting things off. It's just held together with plastic cement. Obviously once there's a roof on this thing, it'll be much more durable. But I do probably got to be careful about throwing it around like I am right now. Oh god, this is the part where something stupid happens. Okay, there we go. Nice. Alright, so on this side we have the corrugated panel sections. This is going to be the side of the structure that you're going to see on the layout view anyways. And you can see all this just went together perfectly. Excuse me, I'm real tired again. I just got off work. So you got the nice little cutout corner there. This is going to be where the dust cyclone construction piece will go, right in here. And then I'm going to have some little areas where some piping will run in and out of the structure to the cyclone. Notice that there's no doors, there's no windows on anything. This is the main industrial section of the building, so there's really no windows. There will be some doors, and we've got to add some other details to the sides. I'll probably have to add maybe some gutters and some downspouts, and then I'll also have to put in the roof. I'll put in the roof first. I'll just have to cut all that out with styrene, and then I'm going to have to put roof caps on it, all that good stuff. So for roof caps, I was trying to really think about what I wanted to do, and I remembered I had this material here that when I put the roof pieces on and glue them down, I can then take this capping material like this and I can actually glue it along like that. See, and it's this channel material right here, and you can see how long one full strip of that is. So it wouldn't take too many to actually completely go along the length, or rather the top of the structure, working all the way down. So I think that'll be pretty nifty. And then I'll just have to do some other stuff for like the corners, trim that. But if you're wondering what I'm using, I have the pack down here so I don't forget. It's 90584 Styrene U channel. That's what I need to order next because I don't have any more of this. I used most of it up for this beam material. And then I also use styrene rod. This is 253 to do the beam supports. And then I used a smaller size beam to reinforce the sections of wall here. So there's a lot of styrene material in this, and you can see it almost resembles the inside of a ship. So it's pretty interesting. You know, you can get as crazy into, you know, fine building these structures as you want. I consider this actually pretty simple. You know, it's maybe a little bit more detailed compared to how some might build a structure like this, but I really wanted to make sure this is going to be durable. This isn't going to be something that's going to break, because I found with styrene structures, you can scratch build them and you can make them look good, but if you don't have proper bracing, if you don't have proper support and everything like that, the styrene panels over time start to warp in, roofs start to bend in, and it's unfortunate because I have a few structures that I built sloppily like that, and now I'm having those kinds of issues. these kind of preventative measures prevent that. So it's just something to kind of consider. But yeah, I'm real happy with the way this has turned out. Obviously, we're going to have to add some doors. Like, I'm going to probably have to figure out. There's probably going to be a door down here somewhere. I'll have to add the door and then trim it. And then there'll be an access door here to get out to where the tank will be. And then, like I said, we got to do downspouts, gutters, and then we're going to do all the roof capping once the roof is on. So we definitely got a lot more work to do, but the main structure is actually basically completed. And I'm super happy with how it turned out. Like I said, I had pretty much this whole thing completed in about an hour. And, you know, it's still frustrating that I had to wait so long to get the corrugated material, but I'm glad I chose to wait, and I was patient. It sucked completely, but it was worth it, because now we have a very, very nice industrial structure here. And it's definitely one of the biggest I've ever built thus far. Alright, so not fantastic lighting, but we do have the structure painted now. The main color coat, and I think it turned out really nice. You know, it's tester's paint. It's not the 100% best quality paint ever, but it got the job done. You can see it blended real nice all the way around. And the key when painting styrene is to make sure that you paint both sides. I've noticed that, especially with these kinds of colors. So as you can see, I actually left the roof off just so I could hit the inside of the structure with that blue. That way when you look inside that color, it's not see-through, because a lot of times when you paint styrene, a lot of the times with that back piece like this is exposed and not painted, light will shine right through it because it's so thin. So even the thicker styrenes like 040, yeah, it'll shine through that shit. So anyways, you can see I masked off the concrete base, so now I'm going to peel all this back off, and now we can start going back in and adding details like windows, door trim, some doors and other details, and then the roof, of course. Okay, here's what we got to. I added the doors. There's the BN, or B exit. I just made all that from styrene. And then I made the sign with some decals. I added the no parking signs to the sides there. After I removed the masking, you can really see how this came together. It's a nice modern industrial structure. You can see I added this little brace support here. This little barricade thing, whatever you'd want to call it. I added the other door here on the C exit, another no parking sign, and then I laid the roof on. So I just laid out my HVAC units to the top to kind of get an idea of where I really want them. I'll just have to kind of figure that out. They're not in a permanent position here because we're going to have to still put styrene bases for them, and then we're going to have to finish the roof first above all. But it gives you an idea of what we're going to be going for in this whole thing. Alright, so I'm working on the roof here, and this took a little bit of planning and thinking about how I wanted to do this. I actually decided to try to do a tar paper roof. I've noticed that this is pretty common on a lot of these industries. You know, it kind of varies. Sometimes you see the pea gravel roofs, things like that, but I decided to try this out on this structure. And, you know, if I don't like it in the end, I can always go back and do something else. But basically what I'm going to do is take some black tape like this, and I'm going to cut out some relatively long strips, and basically I'll just lay them out like this over some white glue that I've applied prior to filming. Basically what I did was I took white glue, I spread it all the way around the surface, and that got all that pretty much prepared. And then I was able to come down here and just start applying some tape strips. Now what I want to do is just kind of eyeball that length a little bit, and then just make some more copies of some strips until I get everything covered all the way to the end. You'll notice that I'm leaving a slight little bit of an overlap. Well, not an overlap, but more of a gap. And I'm just trying to kind of make it look like there's some little seals. That's, again, something I kind of saw in some other photos as I was looking online through some aerial photos of different structures in the area that I'm modeling. And I saw this kind of pattern. I thought it was interesting, and so I'm just, you know, eyeballing it here. And this is the first time I've tried something like this. You know, we're all learning together here on this channel, so. You guys get to see me doing this live. Hopefully we don't screw it up. But I'm just gonna keep applying these strips over that glue. Let's see, that works. That works indeed. There we go. And then we'll just stretch that out. Stretch it out just like that. Okay, so you'll notice up to this point, these aren't very precise cuts. They're rather imperfect. Well, what I'm doing is I'm overlapping another piece of tape over all this to look like it's maybe some kind of seal or something like that that runs opposite. You know, again, I don't know all the technical terms for what you would call this stuff in real life, but I'm just replicating this just like how I saw it on the photos that I was looking at. So I'm just going to lay another bead of glue right along this section like this. If it overlaps a little bit, not a big deal. Just pull it all out like that and stretch it out. Let's get that now straightened out. Okay. And then we'll take this piece of tape, and we're just gonna overlap it. This is a little messy. I am getting glue all over my hands, but you know, it's all good. Okay. I'm just gonna press it down a little bit, and thankfully it's white glue, so most of this will disappear, but I'm not too insanely worried. I will be going back and weathering all this too once it's all done, pretty much with drying, so possibly tomorrow we'll just have to weather it up a little bit, make it look kind of dusty and dirty, and that'll help take some of that gloss off of it. But I actually like the look. It looks like tar paper. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm glad I kind of thought that up on the fly there, but you know, either you like it or you don't. You know, I'm not saying that this is how you should do this. This is just an idea I had and I was willing to try, but I'll kind of sit on this probably for the weekend, and I'll decide if this is the final look I want. You know, I can always go back and do something else over this if I choose to, but yeah, we'll see how it turns out. But yep, I will let this dry overnight, and we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. If I do choose to go ahead and stick with it and then weather it, then I'll go back in and I can start adding all of the roof details, and we'll make those look nice. So this is what I've got for roof details at this point. I've made little styrene bases for my HVAC units, and I've actually found homes for all the vents all the way down the roof like that, and then I also added some chimneys, just little industrial chimneys, little pipes, just here and there, add a little bit more interest to the roof. So I was trying to look at this the other day too, and I was trying to figure out how to kind of run the tank through. I ended up coming up with this pipe structure here that'll be joined in, and I'm going to have to make some kind of little box, some kind of piece of ductwork, angled ductwork that goes back down into the structure. I think that would work out fine, and then I just can rust it up a little bit, so I got to build that today. And then I'm going to weather the entire roof with some airbrush work, so I'm going to do all that kind of thing. If you're building a structure like this, you can of course go back in, you can add some powders, you can really do as much as you want to a roof like this, but I just want to make it look decent, want to add at least the weathering and make it look nice. You know, have all the things that are supposed to be there on this structure. So that's going to be the goal here. We're just going to go in and do all that stuff. So, but so far it's coming along pretty well, but I'm definitely ready to get this wrapped up because it's been taking up a lot of time, so we'll get it done. So the structure is not yet finished, but I do have it installed on the layout here temporarily to give me an idea of what I need to do to work around this at this point. So I am satisfied with the spacing. You can see we kept it pretty much right on the mark in terms of dimensions. You can see it butts up pretty nicely to this corner, although it probably can come over maybe a little bit more, let's say like that. So even with the styrene foundation, the structure's kept up pretty well, but you can see we still got to do a lot of work to actually finish the industry. So at this point, where we're at, is we got to do some decision making. We got to think about things that we want to change. We got to think about things that we can kind of plan around this scene. For one thing, I need a concrete road. I'm going to have something that's kind of right through this area, and possibly something that expands and works around the confines of the model railway world here, having to have everything curved off. Obviously in real life this would be going straight, but we can still work around that, and we're going to do our best here. But I'm just trying to think about how I want things sort of laid out right now. In terms of track, like I said, we had all that ballasted, and for the scene in this area I will have a signal bridge, and I actually have this guy that I built. This is not the same signal bridge I'm going to be using, but it's one similar to what I'll be using, and it's going to be guarding this turnout here, as you can see, for the center siding. And so I'm going to have that there, and I'm thinking about having a gravel road perhaps that comes off and potentially either joins into a concrete lot or possibly goes out this way, and then maybe there'd be like a little guardrail or something like that here. So that'd obviously be something I'd have to build. I would like to have a gravel road that runs parallel to the tracks and kind of joins into this other module here. You can see when I built this, I did have that idea in mind originally, that I wanted to have a little, just a little road, a little maintenance of way access road. Probably have some signal cabinets here, for example, to control the signal bridge here. Also have relays for the switches. Of course we'll have to do switch motors and all that, but that'll come later. We got some ballast issues though. You can see spongy ballast, not good. We're gonna have to fix this. This just absolutely drives me crazy. I am so sick of dealing with this ballast. I've redone this area 3 times and it's the same goddamn issue. So I don't know what I need to do here. I just build this up with plaster and then lay one even coat of ballast over it. I don't know, but it's almost like it's worse trying to layer this ballast out here, because it just starts to form these little spongy areas and it starts to crack and separate. So I need to definitely switch the glue up and try to work on maybe controlling the temperature out here a little bit more. We've had a pretty decent cold winter, but fortunately the ballast does hold up. But in this particular case, this fresh ballast has been causing me some issues, so I got to come out here and work on that. So speaking up again, going back to this area, I will have relay cabinets here, and I'm going to have a antenna here similar to this one I built. So I'm going to have to make another one of these early dispatcher control antennas here, and I'm going to put one over here. So I know I want that there. In terms of other scenes, I'm not really sure what I want to do in this section. I don't know if I want some fencing, for example. Perhaps some more trees can kind of come and blend out. I'm not really sure there. So this is just a point where you got to do some more reflecting, planning and thinking, and trying to decide really what you want. And what I really want here, I have snapshots in my head of what I want to kind of achieve, but it's just trying to execute it now. I just want to be careful and not get too far ahead of myself and just very carefully plan this out. So what I think I am going to do is at least try to start working a road in, because I do want a road that's going to pass the structure. It's not going to be for semi-access. It's just going to be like an access road kind of running along here, and then perhaps a parking lot in this section here. I think that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to lay that in with plaster, and then all this will be concrete, all this through here. So I'm going to do a little bit of plotting tonight, try to think about that. So that's what I'm going to work on next.